So right now, this is what I'm going to talk about. Today I'm going to talk about this house believes that something has done more harm than good. This is a really common type of emotion, and I usually get stuck with these type of emotions. So let's just begin. So what do we do in this type of emotion? So firstly, we basically identify a context. So what's the context, or what is a context? So to identify this, we need to know what a context is. A context is basically where, when, when the debate takes place in. So, therefore, the context is basically like, you can imagine it's like the intro of most speeches. It's like, in today's world, you can say in today's world, you can maybe say, like, if it's relevant to emotion, you can say people are dying from hunger, poverty, etc. Therefore, they are the most vulnerable groups, so therefore those in poverty are the most vulnerable groups who are in need of our help, and we believe that, blah, 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 blah. Like, it's like your intro, but, like, you have to say where, when this debate takes place, and it has to be descriptive, because it has to captivate the judge's heart, and the judge has to believe in your context. Like, most of your arguments are going to be based on your context, because, like, if the debate doesn't even take place in this world, then your arguments probably won't work in another world that well. So, the first thing is context. The next thing is, like, when you think of arguments, you want a problem, or multiple problems. So what do I mean here by problems? You basically want to know, like, what is going wrong with this debate. So what do I mean? Basically, what is wrong with the other side of the house? So you maybe want to say, for example, if we have this house believes that cancel culture has done more harm than good, you could basically say, so if you're OG, opening government, or if you're first speaker of proposition, then you could basically say, we believe that if cancel culture doesn't let companies and public figures have a second chance to correct their mistakes, because cancel culture basically kicks people out of the market directly. So as you can see here, what I mean is that basically you can say that we believe this problem on the other side, which is on the other side we believe cancel culture has done more good than harm. We believe that the problem on the other side is that cancel culture doesn't actually let companies and public figures have a second chance to correct their mistakes, because it kicks people out of the market directly. The second part of this is that you want to say, why is this problem? So you want to say, why is this problem, like, the most important problem? You can say the most important problem in this debate, slash maybe a more important problem than what the other side of the house stated. So if you answer this question in this motion, basically you have the fact that, so why is this problem the most important problem in the debate? Because, like, you can say markets actually, so you can say many companies slash public figures, many companies and public figures have benefited a large range of stakeholders, basically people who are involved in this motion, or stakeholders here. Basically, you can think of it as consumers. The companies have benefited a lot of consumers, and basically here what we want to say is that benefited a large range of consumers. So if you kick them out of the market because of a tiny mistake, you're removing the benefits that these consumers get. Since the consumers are the majority of stakeholders, this problem outweighs all other problems that opposition may state. So do you see how I use the fact that, like, we use the fact that a large range of stakeholders are affected here, not just a tiny minority group? So this is one way you can do this. Another way is basically, you can also say minority groups are affected, and, like, you can say minority groups are affected and how they are vulnerable. So, for example, we all know that, so for opposition, we believe that offensive actions have already been done to a minority of stakeholders. Now, this is not going to work if you just say the sentence, because prop is going to rebut that. Okay, so this is only a minority of stakeholders. However, proposition focuses on the majority of stakeholders. Therefore, our problem is going to be more important than opposition's problem, and we win this debate. However, so on the upside, you have to say the vulnerability of the stakeholders. So vulnerability. These stakeholders have done nothing wrong. So this is where you have to be able to portray how sad these stakeholders are to be offended. So therefore we should implement cancel culture to, you can say, help these stakeholders. I mean, this is not the best argument, but it's something like this that allows you to outweigh prop, to have a chance to outweigh prop. So these stakeholders have done nothing wrong, right? They try to use they try to enjoy the benefits of these companies and public figures, or mainly companies, because when I was debating this motion, it was mainly focused on companies. So these stakeholders have done nothing wrong. They try to enjoy the benefits of these companies. However, they have been offended for no reason. We believe that it is crucial for companies to pay a price for what they have done, or to pay a price for what they have done. So, and we should let the harmed people have a chance to stand up for themselves. You can say on social media platforms, etc. like this. Because so basically you want to say the vulnerability of the minority or stakeholders. So why is vulnerability important, and why can it possibly win you a chance to win this debate? Because, for example, why do we actually execute people for killing others? Like, maybe this person only killed one person, right? This one person's like one out of the so much billions of people in the world. So why do you still execute the murderer? Because this person is really, really vulnerable. They probably have done nothing wrong, or I guess nothing so wrong that they should be killed, and they've just been killed for no reason. So therefore, the vulnerability of this stakeholder, or this only one person, is actually really high. So therefore, we believe that the murderer should pay a price, even though this actually only affects a minority of stakeholders in the world. Something like this, like the vulnerability of stakeholders, basically explains why these people are why they need so much help from you, and why it's important to help them. Okay, this basically answers the question why this is the most important problem, because if you identify the vulnerability of stakeholders, you can basically say thus this problem is the most important. So thus this problem is the most important problem in the debate because it affects really vulnerable stakeholders as portrayed above. So something like this. So basically, you want to say either this affects a large range of stakeholders, or or you want to say that this affects a small minority of really vulnerable stakeholders. So basically, this is the problem, and you also want to identify the value of your argument and also your opponent's argument, because basically what you want to do here when you rebut them or when you preempt them is to outweigh their possible argument, right? You want to say, if you're in the opening half or if you're the first speaker, depends on VP/WSDC format, you're going to say, but you can basically say, so we believe that, so why is this the most important argument in this debate? Because we believe that this argument, as you can say, the problem, so there's a problem, right? This argument firstly addresses the problem in the best way possible, so you can basically explain why the other side of the house cannot find a better solution than this argument. You can basically say, therefore, this argument is the most important argument in this debate. It has the greatest impact, blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to show you now. So for values, you want to say, why is this the most important argument in the whole debate? Because people are going to say, oh my god, your argument might be true, but our argument's just better. It's more important than yours. If our argument's more important than yours, even if your argument is true, it doesn't have a great impact, so it doesn't really stand much. So the judge shouldn't believe you too much. So basically, you want to say, so why is this the most important argument in the whole debate? So firstly, so we have the problem solved. So we have this problem here that we've written, and you want to say, how well does this argument solve the problem? And the problem, basically, why is this the most important problem? And you can answer as explained above. This is just to remind you that the problem is also really important. So how well does this argument solve the problem? Okay. So I also want to know, so how does this argument solve the problem? And basically, are there any alternatives for solving the same problem? Why is this the best solution? So basically, this is all for today.